Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. My apologies for being late. I've been at work, I've rushed through and had a few issues with my mic and sound. It is my fault. Nige D says, am I doing my hair? Yes, as was Joe. It takes us a while to get this as shiny as it is. Please do smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course, hit the notification bell. Make sure you follow everyone's YouTube and in Rocco's case, podcast, which I listened to earlier on. Great pod, as always. Sorry. So we're going to dive straight into it. Leeds United are safe now for me. I'm joking. I'm still in a happy mood. I'm still buoyant. We're sitting in 13th. We're going to talk about, just get everyone's general opinion on the game first of all, and then we're going to get down into some particulars because Rocco needs to answer his Mark Rocker slander, and then Joe needs to answer his Jack Harrison slander. And I'd say Kate has to answer a Bamford slander, but probably not. You don't have to. You don't have to.
No, gladly. I've come prepared.
You don't have to because he wasn't great, but it is what it is. Right. Let's get straight into it. Max, we haven't seen you for a while, mate. How are you feeling and how good was last night for you?
Oh, it was brilliant. Yeah, the fact that we went a goal down and were able to turn it around was unbelievable, and such a nice feeling to be a little bit more of a normal football team and go out and do regular football team things and just actually come back from going 1-0 down and actually respond well and make good substitutions. All in all, an excellent night for Leeds, and the way all the other results went as well, which I'm sure we'll get into, it made it even better.
Yeah, it was amazing, wasn't it, mate? Joe, what are your overriding thoughts?
Yeah, positive. Positive is the overriding one because where we are in the league. And again, as Max just said there, they've shown the character to get back from a goal down because we were starting to look a little bit shaky at the back. I thought defensively, when we had to defend facing our own goals, when we had to turn and run back towards our goal, I thought we looked really, really, really weak. And I thought Max Vober's absence is massive there. But when we had to defend facing the game, when the game was in front of us, I thought we looked actually pretty decent. It's just those clipped balls into the corners were causing us problems. But going forward, I thought Harrison, Sinistera, Aronson in the first half, his link-up play I thought was excellent with Firpo and Sinistera on the left-hand side. I thought they did really good link-up play. I dealt with it in the second half. But yeah, look, overall, it's a good result. There's a lot of players had their best game in the Leeds shirt.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Aronson, I don't know if you remember it at the time, but he actually shoulder barged someone and they ended up on the floor. I was like, what's going on here? Like, have I entered into an ulterior universe? I was like, he's clearly
I said that at the time. I said, oh my God, you must be weak to go down like a sack of spuds after Brendan Aronson puts his shoulder in.
It was amazing to see. It was amazing. Rocco, nice to have you back. How was your trip in Italy, mate? And I've heard already some of your thoughts on the Leeds, that pod, but how are you feeling, mate?
Yeah, it was very good, thanks, and good to be back. I don't actually think I've been on since Javi, so yeah, it's good to come on, and yeah, I absolutely loved it last night. I mean, it was hell through the game. I was so nervous, but like the players were really, it was superb. It was very admirable how they just kept going, even at 1-0 down, like the lads have said. We were always looking the better team, and they believed in themselves and they delivered. And, I saw for the first time, the class of McKenna. He looked like a Juventus type player. He was superb last night. And Firpo is just mind boggling. He's mad, looks like a really good left back now. And yeah, all through the team, really good performances. So yeah, obviously it's only Forest. So I think I'm probably a bit carried away at the moment. I feel like we're going to be absolutely fine, but I'm just going to enjoy it. I think we deserve to get a bit carried away.
Definitely, mate. I looked at the fixtures earlier on and nearly tweeted out a picture of them, right? Because we've got Palace, Liverpool at home, Fulham and Leicester, and I was thinking, could we go and beat them for 5 games on the spin? And then I thought, don't tweet it, Joe. Calm down. Kate, how are you? On the Malbec, feeling good?
On the Malbec, of course. Cheers. Feeling good, of course. Nearly with champagne, but maybe I'll do champagne if we beat Palace, right? Yeah. So, and I'll put a skull cap on. So that's what I think. No, last night I thought it was great. Everyone's really said what I was thinking. I mean, who stood out for me last night really was Weston McKennie. I've been dying to see him play like that. and I have been really hard on him for the past few weeks, deservedly so, I think. But he came back from the international break, and he played like it meant something to him last night. You know what I mean? And I haven't really seen him that invested in a game up to now, so that was really good. And of course, Sinistera was superb. I mean, I did have a heart attack when I saw the selection, saw the lineup. I thought, oh God, here we go. Same shit, different day kind of thing in regards to sort of Arsenal. But obviously, but it worked. I'm not going to say I was overly impressed with Bamford, but as you'll hear later. But no, it was what can I say? It's fantastic.
Yeah,
amazing.
It was great. I think for me, it was the first time in a long time that we've looked really good. Like really, really good. Like I know we only lost. I know we only won 2-1, but we were by far the better side. Some of that link-up play down the left, I seen a video doing the rounds earlier when they were talking about it being Bielsa-esque, and it was that. And I think, there's been a lot of maybe negativity towards how Gracia has played in some of the games. If you look at Brighton, if you look at Arsenal, how he's set up. But he's also showed us now that when he said in his press conference, we will have a lot of the ball. You will see a totally different game at home. And I said in my preview, it sounds like he's going to go for it, like really go for the jugular. And we did just that. And it was really refreshing to see. And I love him, man. We're going to go through some things that I've bookmarked through Twitter today about things I want to have a chat about and all that sort of stuff. But first of all, I want us to take a look at this, because I think we sometimes give this team, I think we've touched on it before, such an unfair shake. But this is Johnny Cooper on Twitter, and I think he was on the Square Ball not too long ago. Yeah. Sorry, Joe, I've hid your face out there behind my
That's okay.
Leeds United in 22-23 are the only team in Premier League history to have played as many as 4 games starting in the relegation zone in a season and won every single one of those games, which for me is such an impressive stat. And it shows, that this team has a great mentality. I thought yesterday, Jack Harrison, and we'll come to you, Joe, I came to the realization that Jack Harrison is our big game player. If you actually look at some of the top performances he's had, and when he scored pivotal goals, I know he's inconsistent. I get all that. But when the chips are down and we need someone to come up and be counted, Jack Harrison's done that. I thought yesterday in that first half, for me, it was my man of the match. And I know people are saying McKennie, people are saying Rocker, Strout was really good. There was many players. But for me, I thought Jack Harrison in that first half against Toffolo just told a new one. And yeah, man, he's got that mentality about him. We've seen it. I remember, that season in the Championship when Forest beat us. I was convinced we were going to win yesterday, but we hadn't won in 6 against Forest. And if you remember that interview that Luke Ayling did when he looked like half dead, and I was thinking, oh no, it's going to go tits up here. And we went on an unbeaten run, and it just shows the mentality of this squad, Joe. And Jack Harrison specifically for me, and I'm going to come to you because I know you've been scared about him in the past. But we get it wrong. We get it wrong. I said Somerville was Jan Paveda 2.0. So there you go. I was wrong on that by a country mile. But go on, Joe. I'll let you speak.
I'm going to defend everybody who's ever criticised a player. You're not wrong. You weren't wrong. Because when you criticised them, you were talking about performances at that time. And at that time, they weren't good enough. It was simple as that. Jack Harrison's middle of this season wasn't good. It was bad enough to either be sold or dropped. And that's being realistic. That's where it was. But if we go back a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about this, and I was being pretty scathing here about Jack Harrison, I did say on that stream as well that Jack Harrison's a big game player, but we need him to have big games every single week, and he doesn't have them. He was, the last 4 games, I think he's looked far more interested, far more invested, far more confident. Each game he's got more and more confident. I thought he was, again, I said on a tweet and I said on my stream this morning, I think it was the best game that he's played in the Leeds shirt yesterday. I thought he was phenomenal. I thought even when at the start, and it didn't start particularly great from him, there was a couple of balls bouncing off him, but he just kept driving forward and running into people and just kept going and going and going. And I thought once you saw Sinistera start to do it on the left-hand side, and then Jackie started doing it on the right-hand side, and you had Aronson in the middle linking up the 2, I thought it was excellent to watch going forward. And I still think we look like 2 different teams. One going forward looks really, really attractive. Football can be really, really good at times. And one of the things I said yesterday about the game was there were shades of prime Bielsa ball and moments of prime Hockaday during the first half of that game, where it was a mixed bag of moments of brilliance followed by just 5-yard scrappy passes that we couldn't do. And then second half was a different game. But I thought Jack was just showing us what he's capable of doing. And he has, it's not just in this game, he's done it in the last 3 games, but he's got progressively better. The big thing is going to be, can he keep doing that from now till the end of the season? Because we will need him to.
Yeah, no, for sure we will. I think because he had like 5 goal involvements in our last 5 wins or whatever it is. I don't know.
Most
I can't
assists
remember
of anybody in the most goal involvements.
Yeah. And I think he's leading the charts as well in terms of goals and assists outside of the top 6 as well.
Could you imagine 14, could you imagine where he'd be if like, he started the season on fire and then didn't get the England call up and then seemed to just fall off a cliff and then he's bounced back again? Could you imagine if he gets in the middle of a season at that level? Like, that's a player that you're talking about. Yeah, top 10 player easily. Then if he can get the consistency sort of do.
Yeah, definitely. Were you going to say something, Max? Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, this is what I said when we first talked about the fact that he was going to be sold to Leicester and all this stuff that happened, was that I said, like Joe said, in the moment, you're right, he's not playing well. But I think Jack Harrison is a player more than most where it's best to take a step back and look at his entire career at Leeds and look at last season. I think he's got 11 goals, got a couple of assists. The season before, he's got about 10 goals. He's consistently getting you the amount of goals that Newcastle paid 25 million for Chris Wood. And he was a roughly 10-goal a season striker in the Premier League. And we've got a winger who's done that for us consistently, gets us goals and assists. And the one thing you can't fault him for is his work rate. He will absolutely work his pan off for us. But yeah, I just think that sometimes with Jackie, we just need to remember he will always come back to the level that we want him to be at, even when he's playing badly. You look at other players like Bamford, he may never get back to the level that we saw him in that promotion season. But Jack Harrison, you always just get the feeling, even when he's playing badly, he will play himself back into form. And obviously in the last 4 games, he's been excellent. So and
you know what, as well,
great player to have.
If by magic, James Marshman has literally just just tweeted this out as well as we're speaking. Let me just add that to the stream. Jack Harrison has had, there you go, look, so 181 games, 32 goals, 27 assists, so goal involvement every 3.06 games, and he is improving and he is getting better. If you remember that first season, he wasn't amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but he has improved, and he'll probably end up the season with better numbers than he did last season. I think sometimes we do take him for granted, for sure. Rocco, I heard you waxing lyrical about Gracia on the Leeds That Pod, and you know there's been stuff that he said after the game on about, you know, the fans and all that sort of stuff. And he's making these little nuances that it's like, it's Bielsa 2.0. Do you know what I mean? I almost feel bad for mentioning Potter and that last week. I'm now like, no, Gracia is the man.
I just love him. I love his personality. I love his press conferences. I love how calm he is, how humble he is. You know, he's got a lot of traits that are very, very Bielsa-esque. Very different type of manager, of course, but that's fine. You know, he's getting results. You know, I didn't really agree with the team last night. You know, I was sort of thinking that our 4 best attackers were probably on the bench. But then, you know, they go and do that, and he's clearly had a massive impact on the squad, which you always hope for of a new manager, but it doesn't always happen. And I do feel like we're getting the results that we can maintain the results that we're getting. And, you know, it has been a dream start for him to beat all 3 teams that are around us and get an extra point from Brighton. It's class. He's been an absolute breath of fresh air, and it just feels really nice to just be fully behind. Well, not obviously we were always behind Marsh, but like, you know, when we went behind, there's no negativity from me personally anymore. Like, I'm not angry at anybody. You know, I just want them to come back into it. You know, and it's lovely just to have that full force of just, you know, just willing them on. Really, you're muted, Joe. Your favourite trip.
There you go. Thank you. Sorry. No, so Gracia said on his impact so far, I do my job. The protagonists are the players. There was another one as well where he says, they say that the fans are the 12th man, but here the fans are the first man. The fans are number one, then the players. You know what I mean? And it's them. It's that sort of little.
Are you okay, Joe?
No,
I don't think you are.
Church. No.
Oh, you got a little crush going on, mate.
Yeah, no, I do.
He's got his Bielsa face back.
Yeah, man, it's nice. It's nice, isn't it? To have a guy that I think as well. I just think for me because it's so far removed from the guy we had before. You know what I mean? It was
unbelievable. Can I just say this quote from Phil Hay in The Athletic? He said the title of his article is "What Leeds United Wanted from Javi. They're absolutely getting tactical intelligence, order rather than chaos, and most of all, immediate results." And I thought that summed him up pretty well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? I think Leeds have won 3 of their 6 Premier League games under Gracia, as many as they had in their previous 22 this season. So it's quite the turnaround. I think since he's come in the 6 games as well, Kate, we're like 7th in the league, like in terms of them 6 games. Do you know what I mean? So in the form table. So who knows, with a full pre-season under the belt, more acquisitions, you just never know.
That's what I was thinking. I mean, pre-season, and most importantly, I think he's getting out of most of the players. He seems now to be getting the best out of them. I mean, Jack Harrison's a case in point, isn't he? I know Jack Harrison's been really inconsistent this season, but so's the club. So's the management, so's the tactics. He's had to he's learning a new way of playing under Javi and stuff. So I think, it's just a joy to watch, isn't it? When they put a performance out last night. Yeah, it's amazing.
It was. Yeah, it was. Let's go back to the game. Let's talk about some individual players, and we'll start with Mark Rocker, and we'll come to you, Rocco, just because I know. Listen, and you're not the only one. Some players, like, people hate Ayling. I love Ayling. I feel like I have to defend him all the time. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. People were tweeting me about what I said about Firpo, how I was a better footballer than him and all this sort of jazz. That's always going to come back to bite you when you do this sort of stuff. It is what it is. At that time, I was a better footballer than him.
At the time, though.
Yeah, exactly. But how good yesterday, Rocco, was Mark Rocker. Like Kate mentioned the McKennie of Juventus. We got the Rocker of Bayern Munich. And when you actually think about that, it's like, hang on a minute. Yeah, we've got a midfield too that once played at Juventus and Bayern Munich. It's a bit of a mad one, really.
Yeah. I think, I don't know, it's speculation, but I don't know whether Adams not being there has sort of forced Rocker to step up, and he's responded, because he does seem to have a bit of a rocket up his arse, and maybe I was just being a bit harsh earlier. I don't know. Maybe I was right. Maybe I was wrong. But I just always felt like he was, a bit of an easy ball merchant, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I guess I was just always wanting and expecting more from him. And
Adam Forshaw built a career on that, hasn't he?
And wasn't
playing the simple. I'm half joking, but playing the simple pass is like something that sometimes you want from a midfielder, just to do that. But and I think Rocker sometimes blends into the background, and you sort of think, what's he actually doing? But the fact that everybody's talking about his performance just shows how good he was last night. Like you say, stepping up to the plate, Rocco.
Yeah. I think in a good team as well. That's the other thing with Rocker and with all the others, strangely, when you're playing in a team that's buoyant and playing well and getting results, it's going to make a massive difference, isn't it? And Rocker was really good. He was good against Arsenal as well. Yeah. Hopefully, he's settling in, and I'll be his biggest fan again.
Yeah. The fact that he has so much space with which to work in as well, which means he can then put the balls out that he needs to, even just like little flicks and stuff that only are 5 yards. They're just, I don't know. He just looked different gravy to me last night, Joe.
They were tidy, the two of them. And I wrote down one of the things I'm making notes watching the game last night. One of the things I wrote down was partnerships, because we're starting to see a really good partnership between Rocket and McKennie after 2 games. You all right there?
No, look at this. Look at this. Jody, you absolute legend. I've got to share this with you before we go any further. He's just tweeted me this. This is absolutely phenomenal. That's killed me. That has killed me. Jody, what a legend you are. I know you'll be watching, mate. That is brilliant.
Mate, that's got to be your new header on Twitter.
Oh, it is going to be. I'm going to do it right now.
I'm surprised you're not in the red dress, to be honest, Joe.
Oh, wow. That is amazing. Go on, Joe. Sorry. Oh, God.
Hello, Doug.
God.
I don't know what to say. Oh yeah, partnerships. Yeah, partnerships. Partnerships. Joe and Happy Gracia as a partnership. I thought there's a really good partnership between McKennie and Rocket Form. I think we were all very worried that with Adams coming out that we'd lose something. I think in the last two games, no, not the last two games because he wasn't in the game before that and this game. I thought they were excellent, and again, like it looked at again McKennie's heat map and his passing map, and he's just everywhere. Some of his crossfield passes were brilliant as well, but Rocket just sweeps up behind them, keeps it simple, keeps the midfield. Exactly what Rocco and Max have said. You want a midfielder that keeps the midfield ticking over and keeps it simple. And when things weren't going well for us a couple of weeks back, it was because we couldn't pass the ball 5 yards. It was a simple passes we were making mistakes on. We were losing the ball silly in possession. And you didn't get that from either two of them yesterday. And I think one notes I made at halftime was McKennie is just going through his job with the minimal of effort today. It looks easy for him. It didn't look to me like McKennie got out of third gear yesterday. Just everything seemed really easy. And Rocky was just cruising around the middle of the park as well. And their midfield didn't really get a stranglehold in the game at all. Everything that they did either was long or over Luke Ayling's head into the corner out wide. They couldn't get through the middle of the park. They were fantastic, both of them there. And then again, you look at Sinister and Jack Harrison, two wingers. So there's a partnership there with the two wingers as well. They were brilliant. So it was nice little groupings of players all over the pitch that were clicking. But I really liked what I saw from Rock McKennie, and I can't believe there's a rumor going around that we're trying to get out of McKennie deal. I think that'd be a huge mistake.
Yeah, we're not now that he's like played well.
Is that real? Is it?
There's two different stories. One is that it's a gentleman's agreement and Leeds now don't want to do the deal, which wouldn't be unlike us to pull out of an obligation to sign somebody. And then the other one is that they want to do a swap deal for Nanto. So don't give us 30 million, we just take Nanto, which will never happen. But
no.
I think
they're good.
I think yesterday was the first time I've seen somebody asked a very good question. Actually, they said somebody asked me if we do stay up and we do have to pay that much money for McKennie, is he worth it? And I said, well, in the basis of what we've seen so far, if you didn't know what his price tag was, you probably wouldn't think he would be worth that much. But from what I watched last night, I was like, yeah, that if he can have that sort of performance in the future, it's exactly what I've been asking for. I mean, Joe mentioned it. He had a couple of passes where he hit them long, and I was thinking, oh, where's this going? Because I've not really seen him do it much at Leeds. And they dropped perfectly onto Jack Harrison's pillow foot, or one that nearly went through to Bamford as well, and he couldn't quite control it. But it was the ambition to actually put the ball forward, progressive passes, actually trying to get the ball into the final third.
Forward passes also.
Yeah, and then at the other side of things, when he slid in and made that big tackle, and it's like, okay, yeah, you can put it about a bit too. So I really enjoyed McKennie's performance last night. I don't think he was the best player on the pitch, but it was the best performance I've seen from him, and I was very happy with that.
Yeah, just an interesting LUFC data put the stats out from the game, and Leeds pretty much win everything bar 2, which is goalkeeper saves because Melly didn't have a save to make, including the goal, and we lost out on tackles 1 by 3. But outside of that, Leeds dominate everything else. Leeds had an 81% pass and accuracy with 401 successful passes. 401 passes is up around Bielsa's level of passing, amount of passes in the game. You compare that to Nottingham Forest, who had 198 passes, so we outpassed them by over 200 passes in the game yesterday. And then you look at the accuracy of that, and it's not a surprise that you played them off the park.
Yeah. They didn't have a sniff. This is why it really perplexes me when I see comments like this. Not to dig you out 14 Yorks, but I just don't understand. Like, it really frustrates me that like football doesn't work like that. Football does not work like that. Do you know what I mean? Liverpool battered Man United 7-0 and then lost to Bournemouth. Football doesn't work like that. Just because we could have won 4-1, we could have won 5-1. It just didn't happen like that. But in terms of a performance, we battered Forest, battered them. I don't understand.
Everything says that we did. Outside of the amount of goals, XG was higher than theirs. Our touches were 200 above them. Possession was 62% to us. More double the shots. 5 times the shots on target. chances created was 3 times the amount. So like the stats
it's the eye test as well, isn't it? That you do where you can look at a game, and if you just look on paper, you say, well, they're terrible on the road and they lost 4-0 at West Ham, so we should be battering them. But when you actually watch the game, the chance where the referee should have given an advantage and Rodrigo was through on goal. Bamford, where Felipe and the other defender just ran into each other, dropped straight to Bamford in the box, and Bamford went, "Oh, I've got the ball," and just booted it wide.
I'm convinced he thought he was offside and just hit.
Yeah.
Convinced.
So just chance it. If you think you're offside, just chance it. Surely, you know what I mean. What's the worst that can happen? You're going to get a goal. Do you know what I mean? That's what he's paid to do.
We had those. When you actually watch the game, we had those chances to make it 4-5-1, and they didn't really have much other than when they hit the post. But that was just a scramble from a corner, wasn't it? So yeah, it's about doing the eye test and seeing that when you actually watch the game, we were so dominant in it that we could have won by that much, but football, like you say, Joe, doesn't always work like that.
Yeah, it doesn't. I just want to get some super chats that we've missed. James says Joe Rocker was really good, but can you give West Ham some credit for his two-way play? He had some stunning switches this match. Yeah, it must have come in before. Collins says as well, cheers, Joe and Co. Been tuning into The View lately, which will be Joe. Great show. Let's kill off this dinosaur running Palace. Yeah, we will touch on.
I mean, I hope we don't actually kill him off. He's pretty old, isn't he?
Yeah,
you know,
possible.
Yeah, it is possible. Might give him a heart attack on the sideline there. But I just want to pick out some more players. I want to talk about Pascal Strout because since he was at left back and then he moved back into centre back, he looked a little bit lost for me. And I think it was maybe, been playing at left back for so long, not being a natural left back. I don't know. I was like, I started to think, have we overemphasized his actual ability? Is he as good as we all thought he was, kind of vibe? And I thought yesterday he was just immense, and it really, for me, now confirms that it is Cooper's last season in effect. I feel maybe I don't know how long he's got left on his deal. Obviously, he'll still be around the place for another season, but it just felt to me now that he's next to over a Cooper. But I hate to make this comparison, and I said it during the watch along and on the preview because I don't like the footballer I'm going to compare him to. But some of the defending was John Terry-esque in terms of when he was throwing his head at the ball, when he was throwing his body at it. I was just really impressed with his performance yesterday. I thought he was really, really good, man. And Cock goes unnoticed for me. I think I need to watch what I'm saying here. I'm pretty harsh. I'm pretty harsh on the old Cock, but you know what I mean? I am. But
he doesn't play as well without Woba, though, does he?
No, he doesn't.
No,
he doesn't.
I don't think. But can we show Strout some love?
Yeah. I think he was very good last night. And like you say, the best things for me is when you can see a player putting his body on the line, when you see him sticking his head in where the boots normally go, and you can see him getting that ball away. And I think there was one sort of defensive passage where I think it came in from a corner, he headed it, then they had a shot, he blocked it, then they had another shot, he blocked it again and cleared it. And it was just like Superman in there, just getting everything out. But I still do think that he was really good last night, but I do think that Verba, we still miss him a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Joe mentioned it before. They were able to get us turning a little bit, and that's when we looked a bit weak. The main issue was when John Joe Shelvey came on, and I don't know if it was a bit of a tactical masterclass by Steve Cooper or an accident, but when he came on, he was playing this sort of quarterback role, and the fact that he would get the ball and put it over the top of us is obviously making us think twice about how deep we need to be. And it could have ended up pushing us further and further back because we know that that's always going to be an issue. So maybe when you come up against, obviously we won't play as high a line against somebody like Man City, but we've seen before that they've got players who, if you have a weakness like that, De Bruyne could just pick that ball up and hit it over the top of you, and Haaland's running onto it. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, we won't play in the exact same way.
We definitely won't play like that, though, will we? That's the thing.
No, but yeah, even against, I don't know, say we played Villa or somebody like that with a bit of quality in there, we could be exploited, but we didn't last night. So let's just hope.
I think it actually helped us, Max. I think in the first half, as we've said, the long balls were catching us very high up the pitch, so we had to turn and run back towards our goal. But when Shelby came on, it just forced our back line to pretty much sit on the 18-yard line, so just kept pinging balls into their heads. And I think that actually Palace did it at the start of the season, and we were all over the place, and we couldn't deal. Second half of the game against Palace, they destroyed us with direct long balls. That's what Palace had last night, but I thought the way Shelby did it was much better than it had been done. The first half, they're playing a couple of passes, pulling us over to one side and then switching it. Second half, it was just Shelby, bang, Shelby, bang, Shelby, bang. And they just sat back and just dealt with it. And you've like, Stroke's a big bloke. Like he can eat those kind of balls up all day. And Meslier, I thought, did a really good job sweeping in behind him when he had to as well to catch some stuff as well.
I also thought that Meslier did a good job of not sweeping in some moments. There's been games where, in the Wolves game where he came out, and then obviously in the Arsenal game as well, there was one where he didn't get punished for it, but he could have done. And I think there was a moment where I thought, I just expected to see him flying out there just because of recent weeks. He just left it and he just stayed in his goal and trusted Struck to go back and get it, which I thought was good to show a little bit of discipline in that moment. But there was a worrying moment where Shelby put it along the floor through our entire team to that I1E, and I think that was when Firpo ran back and made that tackle. But it's worrying that one pass went through everyone. So hopefully that's just a lapse of concentration that happened once and not a tactical thing.
Yeah, let's talk about Junior Firpo, because he was brutal. He's been brutal since he came in. Really, he's been brutal, and then since Javi, he improved a little bit towards the end of Jesse's tenure, I think, when he was played. Obviously, he was injured. He might have had a great season under Jesse. I doubt it, though, just due to what he said in the Leeds United podcast, and said how now he's able to play more of his game because he's able to double up with wingers and all that. And we're seeing that. He got another assist last night. I know it was all Sinistera, but he still got an assist. He was the one that played on I've got him in my fantasy team, you see. I know this. That's how big he's gone, by the way. He's in my fantasy Premier League team. That's how much he's improved. But
just because he scored against Southampton. Did you do it before?
That's why,
maybe after, but like Brennan Johnson, top player. And he bitched and moaned like no tomorrow yesterday. He were ready for fighting someone towards the end of the game.
Yeah, Rocker nearly knocked his block off.
Right, wasn't it?
But Firpo pocketed him. He didn't have a sniff, did he? Firpo's improved so much, man. It's mad, really. Just the change, really.
I think he tried to remind us, though, didn't he, by slicing that one back towards Melly? He just said, "This is what I used to be like. Appreciate me now."
What were you going to say, Kate?
I was just going to say how many players have improved since Javi's come in. Obviously,
that's a great point. Okay, isn't it? Because we said this last week. Will Javi make players better? I think he has.
I think the structure helps. It's what Firpo mentioned on that on the Leeds podcast, isn't it? That having a little bit more of a solid structure and knowing what you're doing rather than being chaos ball. Everybody's going to play a little bit better, because if a player knows exactly what he's doing and exactly what his roles and responsibilities are, which you feel Javi Gracia is a very concise person from his interviews and stuff. He just gets to the point and he makes sure you've understood it, and then he's gone. So I feel like he'll be very concise. He'll tell the players exactly what they need to do, and that will see them improve massively because they know what they're doing day in and day out. The
ironic thing is it's clarity, isn't it? You know what I mean? Sure. And how many times did we
and lack of stress?
Stress and clarity.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so ironic. What a clown that man was, eh? He might even get the Leicester job. Let's hope. On another one as well. Frank Lampard's going to Chelsea. I've never known a man be able to fail up as much as that guy. It is insane.
Joe, in saying that, am I right in saying Lampard's history is every club he's managed have finished one place worse off than they were when he took them over? So maybe Europa League or Conference League is on for Leeds. Maybe we can.
You just never know. You just never know. Let me share this graphic. So I just want to get everyone's thoughts about the current state of Leeds United. Obviously, I do look at this a lot. I know James does on Leeds that as well, and I check it nearly after every round of Premier League fixtures. But that's where Leeds United lie now in 538. Now that will change as well because West Ham got spanked 5-1, so tomorrow it'll look completely different. But Leeds United have a 10% chance now of relegation based on that data. And the reason I wanted to share that is just to really get where everyone's head at now is with the relegation situation at Leeds. I know it's still tight. I know it's really tight. But when you look at it now, and I'll come to you first, Max, we have 6 points on Southampton and we have 4 on Leicester. That now is a little bit of a gap. And we've still got favourable fixtures. We've got Palace at home. I'd argue Liverpool at home is one we can get a point in at least. You know, they're not great. We've then got Fulham away. We've got Leicester. We've got Bournemouth to come. There's some winnable games, and there is a gap starting to create. So, where's your head at with regards to relegation now, Max?
Well, I think the Palace game is obviously vital. If we can get 3 points from that, we hit that. We go over that 30-point threshold, which I think is not even just for the fact you're over 30 points wise, but psychologically for the players. Once you get over 30 points, you almost feel like you're safe, which obviously Gracia will be saying we are not safe yet. And do you know what I mean? They won't get complacent. But from the remaining fixtures, I think somebody tweeted it before. How many points do you think we'll get? And I think we'll get 10 points, which takes us up to 39 points, which I think is safety. So from the games we've got, and that was fairly pessimistically, I was saying that we won't get anything out of Newcastle, Tottenham, City, even West Ham. I think I was saying that we'd get 3 points out of Palace, 3 points out of Bournemouth and Leicester, and then 1 draw out of the other 5 games or so. So even that's a fairly, that is fairly pessimistic, and still 10 points. So yeah, I think we'll be okay, and especially as well, I think if McKennie can continue to play like that, we're not going to miss Tyler Adams as much as we would have done if we hadn't have signed McKennie in January, which I think is going to be actually very important for us, whether he does well or not in there.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Joe? Where you at?
Slightly more positive. I was really nervous with the Forest game. I'll be honest with you. I really
Were you nervous? Were you nervous during the game when because were you?
Yeah.
I always thought we were going to win. Genuinely, I genuinely thought we were always going to win that game.
You know what's weird, and I'll probably sound like a hypocrite here now, but there was moments under Marsh because we attacked teams consistently that I thought we might nick this. We might nick it. Won't be structured, but we could actually nick this. We're creating chances. We're just not scoring.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know what Javi's going to do game to game. And I also love that at the same time as it unsettles me at times of going, I don't know how we're going to go into this game. I don't know what the starting lineup's going to be. I don't know what the shape is going to be. I don't know how we're going to start the game. The one consistency I've seen from Javi's team in the last 2 games is we have come out of the blocks rapidly in both games. We went at Arsenal in the first minute and could have scored, and we did the exact same thing against Forest, I like that. That's a sharp start to a game. I'm a little bit more calm about the Palace game coming up because I wanted minimum 4 points out of those 2 games. Yeah. We've got the 3 is the big one to get. And I think we're good enough to get a point against Palace where they are. I think tactically Javi will be okay with what Roy Hodgson has to offer. And you might even nick that. And then all of a sudden, you're on 32 points and you're in 12th position in the league. And then I'm okay. Because I think we'll beat Leicester. I think we'll get a point against West Ham. And I think we'll beat Bournemouth. I think then same as Max, I think we're safe then. Yeah. Like I thought we'd in the that final 11 that everyone predicted the scores in. I had us to lose against Forest. I just thought that's a game we're expected to win. Therefore, it's Leeds. Therefore, we will lose that game.
Well, I thought.
My pessimism sneaks in at the worst times, and I was genuine when we conceded the goal. Like I was like, yeah, there you go. That's it. That's now watch and see if we collapse, and we didn't, which is hugely encouraging, and it's kind of cheered me up a little bit to think that we've got a lot more character in the bank than maybe I thought we did have. Because last week we said the same thing, and I said it. Maybe the team isn't as good as we think it is. Maybe the team is not as good as we keep saying because the results are showing when it's not getting any better. But 3 wins from the last 6, and I think you said this, Joe, in one of your reviews. Javi has now got us beating teams that we should beat,
Yeah.
and teams that are down around us. Whereas under Jesse, we were beating teams we shouldn't be beating and losing to teams we should be beating, and that's what caused the problems.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's a case of you look at all the bottom teams: Southampton, Nottingham Forest, Wolves, Albion. So
yeah,
I'm much happier now, much more confident going into this. The big thing for me now is there's a little gap. There's a 2-result gap between us and the bottom two teams, and then it's just to try and pull away from Bournemouth a little bit. But if they just stop
and if you like, Southampton have got City at the weekend. Their running's brutal. Forest's running's brutal as well. So long may that gap continue to create. And Rocco, Joe makes a fantastic point. Since he's come in, he's beat Wolves, he's beat Forest, and he's beat Southampton, and that's where it counts. And even got us a point against an amazing Brighton side that's still whipping teams now. You know what I mean? This Brighton are not a flash in the pan. They're going to continue in this form between now and the end of the season. They're a top side. So, I'm genuinely confident, and we'll touch on it later, but I don't think we lose to Palace either. I mean, where's your head at with the relegation, Rocco?
Yeah, I'm feeling probably too confident, to be honest. I feel like we're in a great position. I think it's all there for us. I'm hoping that we can just push on, to be honest, and get the points that we need by the time we play Leicester, or go into that Leicester game with a chance to put it to bed. I think the fixtures are kind. We're in great form. We can do it. I'm not saying we will, but we can. We've got that opportunity now, and I'm feeling really positive. And I do, ultimately, I think we've seen in recent weeks that we're better than. There's no way Forest are finishing above us. I'll do a Radrizzani and say it's impossible for Forest to finish above us. Southampton aren't going to finish above us. And then, Everton were absolutely terrible against us. I can't see them finishing above us. And then you've got teams like Bournemouth and Leicester who we have to play. So if we, we need to come through those games unscathed. But I can now see the path to safety, which is crazy because, the last home game, Brighton, I had a bad wobble. I thought we were done for. I thought we were going to finish bottom, even though we got a good result. I just felt terrible coming away from that. And contrasting that to how I feel now is embarrassing, to be honest, because I'm just over the moon. I'm feeling so good.
I could tell, mate. I could tell it's coming through.
I agreed with Rocco though with that, because I was exactly the same. I thought everyone keeps saying one team every year collapses, and everybody was naming every other team. I go, what if it's us? What if we're the team that implodes? So I totally get it.
Yeah. To be honest, I sample a lot of content and do a lot of other channels, and a lot of people were saying Leeds, and it was really pissing me off. Because I was like, no, you don't watch us. Yeah, you don't watch us, man. Like even last night, right, on the comms for those that
Paul Robinson.
Paul Robinson. My God, he was going
so negative.
Do you know what he kept going? The only thing is, Leeds fans, he says they play like this all the time. They only know how to play one way when really they should drop off and that. And I'm going, you clearly don't watch us, mate.
Yeah.
We haven't played like that at all.
I don't know what his deal is. I put a whole piece on the stream today, just going to talk about Paul Robinson for a minute, because I don't know what the hell is wrong with him. Yeah. He was on Premier Sports a couple of weeks ago, and he was underwhelmed by Javi Gracia's press conference. He was like, who are you to be underwhelmed by any manager?
Are you trying to be whelmed by his press conferences?
Yeah, he's not like a former monkey. He's not out there with cymbals dancing, trying to entertain you. He's there to do a job. And then last night there was a ton of things that he said. He clearly wanted to make a point of calling out Junior Firpo as an attacking player. And on 4 or 5 different occasions he is so limited in his attacking plays. Because he's a left back. Of course he is. He's a defender. So if you get an attacking performance out of him, great. If you don't, doesn't matter as long as he defends well. The moment when Chris and Kev were being remembered and the fans turned their back, and that was happening, the commentator made a point of calling it out. Paul Robinson had a really big opportunity there for me to say something important. And instead of saying something important, he said nothing. At the very last second, he said, I was there. It was very hard for the players to go out on the pitch. That was it. He didn't make a comment about Chris and Kev. He didn't say anything about them. Nothing. Then he made the comment about Leeds have only got one style of play, which is incorrect. You just haven't done your homework on that. And then he said, Sinistera hasn't played this season because Willie Gnonto's form. I was like, well, that's not true. He's been injured pretty much the entire season, so you're wrong there as well. So do your homework. You're supposed to be the lead.
I always try and put it back to that. I'm pretty sure it was Michael Owen, wasn't it, when he said that he'd watched Meslier in the youth academy at Leeds and always knew it was going to be promising. And when a commentator is saying stuff that I clearly know is wrong. I always think back to that, and I just think just because they used to play football, they actually don't know anything, and it helps me to not get wound up by them because I just think it doesn't matter. Like you're just chatting shit, aren't you?
It's not a look behind the curtain, but last season, I think, to be honest, I don't even know what bloody publication it was now, but basically, I was paid to sit on a Zoom for half an hour and get asked questions and give my opinion on it, and then we'll create news articles about it. Now, these same ones are the same stuff that you see regurgitated where it says, Danny Mills has said XYZ, and they have no sort of thing. They just get given a name and get told to speak. Now, I can believe that they were probably getting more money than what I were, but what I'm saying is they don't really have no knowledge. I genuinely would sit there and they would go, right, what about this player? And I would go, oh, yeah, that could work. Yeah. And then an article would be produced on the back of that. You know what I mean? And these same people were like Danny Mills and other names like Paul Robinson, etc., that just have some sort of link to the football club. You might even see him like Michael Brown sometimes does them, and you're like, why is he speaking about us linked to what's his face? It's it's mad, isn't it? It's a mad world.
Robbo just doesn't seem to like Leeds, though. I don't know what way to finish up with him, but he just seems to dislike the club.
Like Chris Boyd.
Yeah, exactly the same.
That's plain for everyone to see. I can't bear him.
Yeah, Sutton's the same, I think, as well. Isn't
And always wrong.
Always wrong.
He said that it was disappointing to see that Gnonto didn't make the squad. It was like, dude, he's on the bench. He's on the bench.
The worst thing,
just look at the team sheet. You've got it in front of you.
The worst thing for me is when, like, Leon Osman was multiple times called him Marco Bielsa. And for me, that's unforgivable because you are literally getting paid a lot of money to sit in that Match of the Day studio. And it's not as if Marcelo is not a well-known name in football. I think the Brazilian left back for Real Madrid for years, winning Champions Leagues and bloody World Cups and everything. He's got it's the same name, so it's unforgivable when they say it. So a lot of the time, I think when you're younger and you watch Match of the Day, you think, oh, these guys know everything, and when you watch his telly, and then you grow up a bit and you go, hold on a sec, a lot of these guys are just chatting bollocks.
No, they are. On Match of the Day, they are.
Michael so true out of it.
Kate, are we going down? Where's your head at with it?
No, I've never thought we're going down. And but I did kind of think, are we going to sort of succumb to the Leeds curse yesterday? And I got a bit twitchy in the second half. I was until that final whistle went, because we couldn't really have stomached a draw. But no, I don't think we're going down. I think Palace. You see, I don't know. I'd still don't kind of think, we're going to win, but I can't.
We will beat Palace,
I know, but then Max and Joe was saying a draw. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I think we can. I think we can because Zaha's not playing, is he? I think we can for sure.
Do you know what though? As bad as Luke Ayling is at Arsenal, he's always very good against Zaha. Always very good.
He's not
always
playing.
Very good. No, but that's what I'm saying. It's probably a disappointing thing that he's not playing. Do you know what I mean? Because he's out injured. Listen, I'm convinced. I'm in a group chat with a load of, and I've told them, I said, we'll beat Forest and we'll beat Palace. And I am convinced of that fact. I'm also, I think we might get something against Liverpool at home as well. And we'll look back in a week's time and be like, we're sound now. We're sound. But,
I hope so.
Yeah, no, I genuinely believe it.
I think I was more convinced about Forest because of their terrible away record. They scored that one goal, and I was thinking, bloody hell, that's a fifth of the entire amount of goals they've scored away all season. It had to be against us.
Yeah. That's why I was so confident, bro. I was thinking they've scored 4 all season, right? There's no way they get 50% of that in one game against us. So
that's why I think I'm more confident. I was more confident about this game, and I wasn't really nervous. But I think I will be on Sunday against Palace because it's a little bit more of an unknown quantity. Well, it kind of is a known unknown because obviously we've played Hodgson's Palace before, I think, haven't we? When we first came up, or was it him? I'm sure it was the first season we came up. Yeah. And then it was Vieira, now back to Hodgson again. So we have played them before, but it seems like eons ago now. But
Adam, we absolutely tore them to pieces. It was a midweek game. I think we might have won 3-0 or 2-0, but yeah, it was a really easy win actually. Take that again.
Yeah, because I remember the horrendous Bamford offside. You know what? Do you remember when VAR was ridiculously
Finger.
and he pointed for where he wanted Click to pass the
This
ball?
was offside.
And a part of his body that couldn't play the ball was offside, and it got given, and he'd scored. So it was just like
They changed the rule the week after that. Then
they're
like, oh yeah, we haven't thought of that. Actually, you can't score with your arm, so that can't be part of the offside rule. So that has to be removed. It's like great, thanks for that.
So hopefully there's not too much drama
about points. So if we win against Palace and draw against Liverpool, what then do we need to get from the rest of our games? Because what if it was worst case scenario and we lost the rest?
It's still only 3 points between that and Bournemouth.
Well, I'm just sort of,
No, I know what you mean, though, because this is the thing.
3
when
wins.
you're down there, they would have to win all theirs, is what you're saying, isn't
Right,
it?
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
is that realistic? That's why I was making that point of Southampton, we now have 6 points on them, and they've got City. So even if we lose, God forbid, but even if we lose, as long as the others don't gain points, then it's like, as you were. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and there's a lot worse of run-ins than us. A lot worse.
There's 8 teams, 9 teams struggling to get a point a game. So 3 of them are going to fail to get a point a game by a few points. You know, I think 35, probably 36 will be enough. So
it's hard to tell, though, isn't it? Because everybody's so close to each other that it's going to go one of 2 ways. Either it's going to be one of the highest points tallies to stay up in years, or those bottom teams are going to drop off at some point. I feel like it might be Bournemouth, Southampton, and Forest, and they might drop off because Forest, if they lose half their games, don't they? Essentially, like guaranteed to lose half the games because they're so bad away. So they could drop off, but we could end up needing like 38 points to stay up or more.
Yeah, if we look at this weekend again, there's a massive opportunity for Leeds because Man United are at home to Everton. Man United, you know, they're great at home, unfortunately. They are. I think we're the last teams to take point from them. And that was in October. I think,
from them,
So Man United should beat Everton at home. Should beat them. Villa, who are flying. Ollie Watkins can't stop scoring. They've got Nottingham Forest at home. They'll beat Forest. Forest are not good for me. Fulham play West Ham. Fulham at home, London derby. West Ham on the end of a 5-1 spanking. That could go our way as well, you know.
I think West Ham might win that one, but Villa will do us another favour. But then, like,
there's
Wolves, Chelsea as well.
The biggest one is Leicester Bournemouth because they're both. Because if they take points off each other, they both stay in the bottom 3, and then you can properly. If you get it to more than 2 results of a gap, that's positive. So we can get something that they take points off each other, you know. And if you look at the form guide, like over the last 5 games. Bournemouth pick up the odd win every second, third game. They pick up a win. West Ham are picking up the odd win every 3 or 4 games. But if you look at it, Nottingham Forest haven't beaten anybody in 5. Leicester haven't won a game in 5. So there's 2 teams. And then you look at Southampton who are down there. Form guide would say it's Leicester and Forest that are going to drop in there with Southampton and fall away based on the fact that they just haven't won in so long. Everybody else is kind of picking up the odd 3 points here and there to keep them winning.
I don't think Nottingham Forest have won in 8 now, have they? You know what I mean? And then they've got to go away to Villa Park, which is bouncing. Emery can't stop winning. Watkins can't stop scoring.
It's in Europe.
Yeah, I just don't think they get anything. Let's finish with some score predictions for the weekend. Actually, I also want to ask you this because Toby put the super chat and he says, what do you think of the lineup for Palace will be? And Square Ball mentioned something about Bamford playing as long as he did. Do you envisage a situation where we might get Rodrigo for 90 minutes? And is that the thinking behind it potentially?
I think so.
Yeah. Do you think Rodrigo starts this one?
I think we'll play the same team.
Yeah.
I think he'll stick with it. Yeah.
I mean, Bamford was like on his knees by the time
he was on his knees by 70 minutes.
Yeah, but that was just with Gracia, so he starts the next game.
I think it was a case of get him as many minutes as he can get, as long as keep him on the pitch for it. That'll be a huge boost for Bamford to get through 90 minutes. I know he came off, but
what did he do? 90. What did he do in 90 minutes?
Oh no, he was got Kate. He was.
I looked at it. I looked at it twice, Kate, and I was the same as you. I wrote down at halftime, Bamford needs to come off, right? So I do agree with you. However, I've watched it back a second time. I always make a point of watching the game twice. Once when I'm calm and I know the result. He did a huge amount of work off the ball, like defending from the front and pressing. His hold-up play in the second half specifically was very good.
I know.
But he didn't look sharp in front of the goal, and he didn't look sharp off the mark. But I think he was tired from about 70 minutes on. He looked out on his feet. But I think this is where you're starting seeing bits from Javi, like taking McKennie off the pitch. And, not starting McKennie against Arsenal was a clever move because he wanted to start him against Forest.
Yeah.
I think he's always thinking 2 games ahead. And I think with Bamford, it was a case of leave him on the pitch as long as he can keep going. 90 minutes under his belt will be very big for us in the run-in. If we can keep him running at 90 minutes, that'll be a huge boost for him. I do agree with Square Ball. I think it'll be an identical team, but Rodrigo, I think, will start up front.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah,
I've got no problem with anybody else. I mean, even Aileen sort of like pulled his socks up, didn't he? Sort of
he did. He started really shaky, didn't he? But then improved.
Rasmus had 2 and 2 before last night, and he didn't get to play until later on.
I know.
Absolute goal scorer.
Stick him up top.
I just think with the attacking impetus at home, that he's always going to go with Ailing because he's so good going forward, and I understand that.
I do think that it's going to take us a little while to get used to the fact that Javi Gracia is actually good at using substitutes. So, in the past, we've kind of been a bit, Bamford's not starting. Oh, Rodrigo's not starting. Nonto's on the bench. He's not starting. And people said that to me when I was watching it. And I said, well, now that it's Gracia, it's not necessarily a bad thing. Like Jer said, he's thinking games ahead. Yeah. And the other thing is as well, somebody said about Somerville because he was fit. Somebody said, well, why isn't he starting? I said, well, maybe Gracia's looked at it and thought, well, Harrison and Sinisterra are a lot more physical than Somerville. And so maybe that's what we needed at that point. And then later on in the game, you bring Somerville on, he adds that little different element. And so the fact that we've got a bit of depth now is massive for us, especially in a relegation battle. When you looked at the bench last night, we were still missing Tyler Adams. But when you actually looked at it, it's a stacked bench. We've got good players who can come off the bench. So I think there's going to be a little bit less of a focus on who's actually starting games now because A, we've got 5 substitutes, and B, so far Gracia has actually been very good at utilizing them to change games and changing to 2 up top. Like when we're talking about, Bamford's playing, but Rodrigo's not. Last night we saw he brought Rodrigo on, went 2 up top and then changed things again. And it's very fluid with what he'll do with the team. So hopefully...
I mentioned that in my post-match as well, how when the camera always panned to Steve Cooper, he was always scratching his head. He was always in conversations with his counterparts, and he made all 5 changes in an hour thinking, and you just see Gracia, he's cool as a cucumber. He
hadn't made any at that point, had he? Gracia,
no, he hadn't.
60 minutes.
No.
And he used all 5 either.
He's got faith in the players, hasn't he? He's got faith in the players. He's thought really seriously about who's playing where, and I think that I trust him. I do trust him to make the right decision. And there's always reasons why, like as Joe was saying, he's thinking 2 games ahead. There's always reasons behind his selection, isn't there? That you kind of trust. So I think as long as Bamford sort of takes a back seat on Sunday, I'll be quite happy. Just bring him on at the sub, for God's sake.
True that. Right, let's get some score predictions. We'll end up with that. Obviously, Sunday, 2 o'clock is the kickoff. We'll go the other way around. Rocco, what's the score prediction going to be?
I'll go 2-0.
2-0 Leeds, yeah? Clean sheet?
Clean sheet, yeah. Nice. Clean sheet incoming. Nice, easy, relaxing 2-0 win. Everyone's going to be hunky-dory.
Nice. I love that, Kate.
Oh, do you know what? I am going to go 3-1.
Nice. I like this. This optimism, man. Don't bring us down with a 1-1.
2-1 Leeds. I think we'll concede, but I think we'll score 2. Yeah.
Go on, Max.
I was thinking 2-1 as well. I think hopefully Rodrigo starts and he bags a couple.
Yeah, I'm going to.
And then Christensen comes on and gets another one. What is he saying?
I'm going 2-1 as well. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I hope we do, though. But I'm just not sure that
we won't have Verba back yet, will we? So let's just say that's.
Do we know that though?
When is he coming back?
He won't be fully fit, will he? Otherwise, usually they're on the bench, aren't they, for a game before they come back? And he wasn't.
I don't believe anything Javi says now, though, Max.
No, that's true.
Every condition to go when he says something, it's not true.
Yeah. I said last night, it's like moves and counter moves with Gracia. He's always trying to think ahead, and hopefully Verba will be back sooner than we think.
Sinister is not in a good condition. Starts to get
I know.
Minister is currently in an ambulance. Then
And I'm glad you
pitch.
replied to those silly questions like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They just bend over backwards, chats, ask these questions week in, week out. You know, at the end of the day, he's not going to say anything. So just give it a rest.
We haven't really touched on Cine, but yeah.
Outstanding, Joe. That's it.
Yeah,
Outstanding. He was outstanding.
It's nice to have a player that can do, like everybody's
things.
talking about Nonto, aren't they? And all the things that he can do. But we've also got Sinistera who can do very similar things. Yeah. And so it's like, oh my God, we're allowed 2 good players. And so
that's it though.
People are on about playing them both. But either way, as long as we've got at least one of them on the pitch and one of them on the bench, it's nice to have those options.
Yeah. And Somerville's ball carrying ability is phenomenal as
drags
well.
us out of danger, doesn't he?
Yeah. And then you've got Rutter to improve it. Honestly, the future's bright, man. I'm telling you, the future
as long
is
as
very
we can stay
bright.
up this season.
Gotta survive, that's
we will, man. Don't worry, we will.
Yeah.
Gracia's taking us on a European tour. Don't worry about that.
Get your passports renewed, guys.
Yeah, get them ready. Make sure they're in date, folks. Make sure they're in date. Right.
European football 24-25, right?
Oh, man. Imagine. Honestly, I could not. Yeah. Anyway, right. Listen, folks, please like the video if you haven't already on your way out. Please do subscribe to everyone's channels as well. Max, Leeds Lately, Joe, Leeds United View, Kate, Leeds Bird Rants, and of course, the Leeds That podcast on iTunes, Apple, wherever you get it. It's all in the description. Please show some love. Thanks as always for watching. I'm not sure what's to come. What day is it? Tomorrow, Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Press conference will be Friday though, won't it?
It'll be on Sunday game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, probably see you then. Anyway, thanks always for watching, and we'll see you on the